Psalm 91. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress. My God, in Him I will trust. Surely He shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the perilous pestilence. He shall cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you shall take refuge. His truth shall be your shield and buckler. You shall not be afraid of the terror by night, nor of the arrow that flies by day, nor of the pestilence that walks in darkness, nor of the destruction that lays waste at noonday. 1,000 may fall at your side, and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. Only with your eyes shall you look and see the reward of the wicked. Because you have made the Lord, who is my refuge, even the Most High, your dwelling place. No evil shall befall you, nor shall any plague come near you, your dwelling. For He shall give His angels charge over you, to keep you in all your ways. In their hands they shall bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. You shall tread upon the lion and the cobra, the young lion and the serpent you shall trample underfoot. Because He has set His love upon me, therefore I will deliver him. I will set him on high, because he has known my name. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. With long life I will satisfy him and show him my salvation.
This is Jonathan Cahn, and you are watching His Glory, and it's always a joy to be on with His Glory, because this is truly a ministry and a broadcast that touches the world for the Lord. So it's an honor to be on His Glory always.
All right, crypto donations. You can donate to His Glory, and you can now support His Glory with cryptocurrency. So go to hisglory.me to donate. Help us get to 1 billion souls. And a lot of prophetic voices say crypto may be, it will be part of the new flipping of the financial system away from the Babylon system to God's system. Limp MD. Feeling sluggish or puffy? Limp MD is an advanced formula designed to support a healthy lymphatic system, helping your body naturally flush out toxins. By promoting healthy lymph flow and improving drainage, it can help reduce swelling and water retention, especially in your legs and ankles. This not only makes you feel lighter, but also supports clearer, healthier looking skin and natural fat metabolism. Give your body the support it needs to feel its best with Limp MD. So grab that today. Great offer, 35% off. And we want to welcome all of His Glory Nation from east to west to north to south. Welcome to today's Take 5. We have Brooke Goldstein with us today. Brooke, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Brooke, can you give the His Glory Nation a little bit about a background about yourself, and then we'll get into some topics that tie into the Muslim Brotherhood and this. I scratch my head what is going on, even in conservatives, with these attacks against Israel.
Sure. So I'm a civil rights attorney. I am based in the United States. I run a litigation fund and public interest law firm called the Lawfare Project, which is the world's foremost Jewish civil rights litigation fund. We are behind most of the major lawsuits against the universities throughout the country for anti-Semitic harassment and discrimination. But really what we do is we seek to protect the rights of all Americans. And you see in history when the civil rights of the Jewish community are attacked, and we see now actually violent mobs attacking Jews attending synagogue, places of worship, and just Jews gathering under the guise of anti-Israel political advocacy, that's really a sign that our society is going down. And I've been following, and I have written extensively about, and I wrote my first book, Lawfare, The War Against Free Speech, about the creeping Islamism and Sharia law that is coming to attack the Judeo-Christian values of this great country. And so I've dedicated my life to raising awareness about this and using the law to fight back, to make sure that our values and our principles are upheld, and of course, our constitutional rights are upheld in courts across America.
Well, I have my constitution. I take my constitution with me everywhere. We are sworn as in the military. I served in the Marines to the Constitution of the United States. Brooke, can you explain to America and how we got so off the track about our forefathers and the Constitution, how this was truly built on Judeo-Christian values?
Absolutely. I just think you have to look at what's been happening in this country for the last 20 years, which is a very stealth campaign, orchestrated and funded by foreign sources. Right now, the biggest donor to our universities, to our institutions of higher learning, to our politicians and the media is Qatar, a hostile foreign nation, the number one state sponsor of the Hamas, a designated terrorist group. And there has been this creeping Sharia tied together with the ultra extreme progressive woke communist fascist Marxist, whatever you want to call it, values. They've aligned themselves to destroy this country. And it starts with going into the educational system. The fact that $1 billion at least has been spent every year for the last 10 plus years by Qatar funding our universities, taking our institutes of higher learning and inserting ideologies that are completely counter to our Judeo-Christian values. And now we find out groups like CAIR, the Council on American Islamic Relations, a Muslim Brotherhood front organization, was paying people at least $1,000 to go and engage in property destruction and incitement to violence and genocide at Columbia University and all the other universities that we have. This is what they call themselves, the globalization of the Intifada. But I have to say, we are a strong nation. We are centered and have real, true values, and we have the Constitution. And as long as we work to expel and combat these foreign ideologies, these destructive ideologies, the way that we did with Nazism and the way that we did in the past with communism, we will survive and we will succeed. But the most important thing is the partnership between the Jewish community, the Christian community, the Hindu community, obviously the Chinese community, and the moderate Muslim community, and every other community to push back against this radicalization. That is the number one most important thing.
Yes. So can you explain why you believe that there's this division in the conservatives? That I never thought this would happen, that people on the right turn against Israel. They've always been pro-Israel. And now you got this schism, this division between the two.
Well, it's not so much even turning against Israel. There's been a war declared against Christians of the covenant, against Christian Zionists. Tucker Carlson, who is the figure that they've put out there, is intentionally sticking his neck out and saying things like, I hate Christian Zionists. More than he hates Nazis, more than he hates terrorists. That is a declaration of war that is intentionally meant to divide the community and to question and really, frankly, pretend like you're engaging in a theological debate, but really what you're disguising as theology is politics, is subversive politics. And we have to take a real hard look at the role of Qatar and other sources of funding and who is benefiting from this. Who is benefiting from the attempt to capture Turning Point, for example, which is on every single college campus, which is an incredible organization, but inserting these very radical and harmful ideologies against, frankly, God, challenging whether or not God keeps his covenant, trying to sow divisions between the Christian and Jewish community. Who benefits from this? The lies that Israel is dragging us into forever wars, when we are seeing Christians being slaughtered in Sudan, in Nigeria, by the same Islamists that went and engaged in slaughter in the south of Israel, using the same tactics, murdering women and their children and attempting to declare Sharia law. This is the full force Islamization of Africa we are seeing with violence, and we cannot turn a blind eye, and we must call it out. Then you have what I call the medium force and the Islamization of Europe, where you have countries like Belgium, like France, that have entire cities of Sharia law, no-go zones. And now you see what's happening in the United States. We have cities like Dearborn. We have the infiltration of our school boards, our trade unions, local offices, and now, obviously, the election of Mamdani who is a horrid person. Just this couple days ago, when the Park East Synagogue was surrounded by a pro-Hamas mob chanting genocide, Mamdani was actually one of those mobsters, I like to call him, before he got elected. His response was to victim blame the Jewish community, that they should go into their house of worship, and by Jews being Jews, it's somehow a provocation to violence. It never ends with the Jews. It starts with the Jews. We don't have a problem of rising anti-Semitism in this country. We have a problem of rising radicalization, and it is a security threat to America of the highest order. And unfortunately, Jews have been the ones, and of course you have been very vocal about this, but we have been warning this going on for the last 20 years. And people have turned a blind eye, and they are afraid and intimidated because they don't want to be called Islamophobic. Well, we're in the post 9/11, post October 7th world, and we cannot shy away from talking about these very real national security threats.
Absolutely. People need to take a trip to Israel. A lot of these people I hear spouting off against anti-Israel have never gone to Israel themselves and taken tours. We take a tour to Israel every year, and the guests that come with us, they see the truth. We've taken them to Gaza. I was at the Gaza Strip 6 months before it happened. And the general there was telling me the next attack will come from right where I was standing. Sure enough, that's exactly where the attack comes from. When you go there, you see what the nation of Israel has to deal with on a daily basis, and you see the truth, how it's not the moderate Muslims, it's the extremists, the Hamas, who are not taking care of their people. No running water, no lights, poverty, and Israel's just trying to give them a hand.
It's just, frankly, a miracle. There's no other way to say that Israel is on a 7-front war. And the amount of miracles that we have witnessed just in the last 2 years, I think is enough for anybody's lifetime. And it's such a blessing that we have Israel exist, because it is a light in the Middle East. If you zoom out and you see the caliphate, which is trying to be established and to bring Sharia law to these countries, what follows is death and destruction and the suppression of women. And there is over 1 million black Christian slaves in the Muslim majority world right now, and the funding of terror. And then you have this little tiny state of Israel that is truly bringing light to all of the nations and is surviving and is thriving. And I am not worried about Israel, frankly. I am worried about the United States. I am worried about the West. I am worried about the survival of our countries based on Judeo-Christian values, where over the last 15 years, our children have been targeted and indoctrinated and educated in our schools, not about American history, but how to hate themselves and be ashamed of themselves. And these ideologies, these extremely destructive ideologies against the family, obviously, against Jews, but also now war declared against Christians of the covenant is a strategy. And we have to look at who is funding it, who is orchestrated, aiding it, and who is benefiting from the strategy to undermine and
What if I told you that cancer, acne rosacea, multiple sclerosis, and rheumatoid arthritis, what if they can all be treated with parasite medication?
Get yours now at www.purgestore.com/hisglory.
What if you could predict your financial future? And what if you could trade on it? Introducing Block Trust IRA, the future in your hands. An astonishing 88,000 millionaires were created last year from the Bitcoin boom, and you could be next. Block Trust IRA is the only crypto management firm powered by AI-driven strategies, ranked #1 in the world by Bitcoin Magazine. The Block Trust IRA platform is built for everyone, from first-time buyers to seasoned investors. Predictive AI technology that was once only reserved for insiders and elites is now available to you. It's time to leave the old buy and hold strategies behind. Your assets are protected with military-grade security, offline cold storage, and $200 million in insurance. Visit BlockTrustIRA.com to book your free consultation and ask how to claim up to $2,500 in deposit bonuses today. Block Trust IRA. Invest smarter. Retire stronger.
Patriot Mobile has been committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage on all 3 of the major networks, choose a wireless carrier that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
This natural health supplement helps flush away nasty parasites. It's too easy to contract a parasite these days. The natural ingredients in Cleanse 24 can help flush out those parasites. Enter coupon code GLORY at checkout. Join Pastor Dave and his Glory team on a life-changing journey through Greece. Experience scripture where the Apostle Paul preached, deepening your connection with Jesus. Strengthen your faith, unite with fellow believers, and return home renewed in spirit. Join us in Greece from October 16th, 2026 through the 25th. Scan the QR code to reserve your spot today or go to hisglory.me/events. His Glory Expansion Fund. Give to the His Glory Expansion Fund to help us purchase land, create parking, build a bunkhouse for youth and others in need, laying the foundation for our future worship center. As members of the His Glory Nation, this is a great way to help us reach 1 billion souls for Christ. Go to hisglory.me/donate today to make a difference. Together, we will bring 1 billion souls to Christ.
Ask, like, why are they?
We're back with Brooke. We're going to finish that, Brooke, our conversation in the break. Great conversation in the break. Some of our best conversations are in the break. Let's go to the Muslim Brotherhood. Your thoughts of what Governor Abbott did yesterday with Muslim Brotherhood and CAIR, and we've been asking President Trump and his team to declare the Muslim Brotherhood and CAIR nationally. Why is this important?
It's extremely important. It's probably one of the most important things that we can do right now to save this country. I actually printed out the proclamation here by Governor Abbott because it is so brilliant and is so crucial. The most important thing we have to do, though, besides issue the proclamation, is to enforce it. We have to enforce the law. Now that the Muslim Brotherhood and its front organizations like the Council on American Islamic Relations have been designated, we need to make some arrests. And I think that's what the Attorney General needs to do. Now, obviously, unfortunately, but completely predictably, CAIR filed a lawsuit attempting to stop this from being enforced. And we intend to file our own writ of mandamus and to force this law to be enforced. Without being able to stop those who are funding the Sharia law Islamist violent takeover our country using legal means, using law enforcement, we don't stand a chance. So I know that other officials of government have been talking about this, but Governor Abbott did it. So, thank you, but please enforce the law now.
Exactly. So explain that, if you will, from your law background, how the Quran is not, and Sharia law is not compatible with our Constitution. So
Sharia law, when it is interpreted to violate women's rights, when it's interpreted to violate the civil rights of non-Muslims. Just the other day, for example, we had people who were engaged in really an expression of free speech, was a Quran burning ceremony. Now, I don't condone this, but it is protected free speech. And the response from the Islamists in that community was to threaten violence and threaten to shoot and kill those people. We have a history of flag burning in this country. We have a history of extreme speech, but that's what makes us great. And so our values, our constitutional values under the First Amendment, freedom of assembly, freedom of speech, freedom of the press. These are all things that we have to cherish because we believe in the marketplace of ideas. But what Sharia law doesn't tolerate is anyone or anything that is anti-Islamist. You are a second-class citizen. If you are a woman, you have absolutely no rights, and you certainly have no free speech rights to talk about anything, including the very real and imminent threat about radical Islam. And that's, what I wrote about in my book, Lawfare, The War Against Free Speech, which I published almost 20 years ago, is the concerted attack against the counterterrorism community, against the Jewish community, and even against the moderate Muslim community who are speaking publicly about the threat of radical Islam with lawsuits, with threats of violence, and of course, false charges of Islamophobia, because after 9/11, when we all woke up for the first time, we were all intimidated. We were told that we are anti-Muslim, we are racist, we are Islamophobic for asking questions about radical mosques being funded by Saudi Arabia, spreading Wahhabism in our country. We were questioned and accused of being anti-Muslim for talking about how women and how children are treated in Muslim-majority countries. These are all dialogues that must happen in the 21st century. So the incompatibility comes when people want to come to this country and impose a second-tier legal system and enforce it to the exclusion of everybody else and our constitutional protections. And that's what we are seeing.
Let's talk about the propaganda. You mentioned about the universities. You know, what blows me away is some of these young people on these universities getting on social media and saying, I think I'm a Muslim. I love what it all stands for, and having no idea what's in the Quran. They would not be tolerated in the Middle East, the things that they're doing as women, as many different things.
I mean, look at Gays for Palestine. Yeah. We know exactly what would happen to those gays if they went to Gaza. And they admit it themselves. If you ask any devout Muslim, you have all the videos on the streets of London, they say perfectly well what they would do to non-Muslims and to gays and to women. But there is a cognitive dissonance that is happening because of the failure in the West for us to be able to teach critical thinking, plus what I said before, the silencing and the intimidation of anyone who's questioning Islamism or Sharia law or talking about radical Islam, that 1-2 punch, the dumbing down of our society, bringing these progressive values that are not Judeo-Christian values, plus the intimidation. You know, we've been silent for 20 years. We've allowed this to creep. And now, you know, thank God to people like you and this show, we're starting to talk about it. And again, this is not just a Jewish problem. We have to take it out of the so-called Israel-Palestine debate. It is irrelevant to what is happening here in this country. You don't have a mob of people show up outside the Park East Synagogue chanting death to America, death to the Jews. This is not a political debate. You don't have, you know, so-called Palestinian Arabs raising the Palestinian flag in Canada, chanting death to Canada because of something Netanyahu did. And we are, the whole diversion tactic that this is somehow about a so-called Israeli occupation. That's why we're seeing the rapid spread of Islamism when they say themselves they want to reestablish the caliphate. We cannot be diverted into these political discussions. This is a theological war. This is a war of civilizations, and we are at the Alamo, and we need to fight tooth and nail to preserve our civilization.
Exactly. I've studied the Quran many, many times, and this is not what people in America think is happening whatsoever. Yes, you have some moderates. I have many friends in the area of Gaza and Samaria that are Muslim that work well with the Jewish people, and Christians that are friends. But it's the extremists that is the issue. Iran's extremists, the Ayatollah. Can you explain a little bit more about how strict they want to take control?
You know, the philosophy is suicidal. Okay. Yeah. So we're talking about, again, it's a theological debate. This is about religion. It's not about peace agreements or handshakes with the Oslo Accords or creation of a Palestinian state. This is about enforcing Islamism throughout the world to reestablish the caliphate. That is the stated goal. I'm not interpreting it. And if you watch, you know, Muslim media, you can see perfectly well when you see people who are affiliated, you know, with Muslim advocacy organizations in the United States. They say very clearly it's about coming from within, using and abusing the democratic process so that we can instill Sharia law in this country. That is the goal, and that's what we need to push back against hard.
Absolutely. I just got a disgusting video sent to me by an Israeli general 2 days ago, and it was these children. They're children, and I believe it was in Gaza, maybe 3 years old, with fake weapons in their hands, saying "Death to Israel, death to America." They're raising them that way at 3 years old.
Well, this is how I started my career. I was just in Gaza recently during the war. I think, the second or third civilian that was given permission to enter, and I documented what was happening there. 20 years ago, I was in Jenin, Ramallah, Tulkarm, and Nablus, and I got incredible access to schools run by Islamic Jihad. I met with Hamas officials. I met with Fatah, Islamic Jihad, the Al-Aqsa Martyr Brigades. They were very open, and they showed me how they recruit children. At that time, I was between the ages of 24 and 26 years old, and I saw very clearly, the greatest threat to world peace is the ongoing illegal state-sponsored indoctrination and recruitment of Muslim children towards violence, which is the most sinister form of child abuse. And unfortunately, my film is as relevant as it was 20 years ago today, when we saw Hamas use children's schools, United Nations Relief Works Agency schools, use civilians as human shields. They use child soldiers, child suicide bombers, because they revered death. And when you're facing an enemy on the asymmetric battlefield that uses its own children and women and civilians as shields to kill you, okay, you understand that this is next level. This is a culture that worships death, that benefits from every civilian casualty. So that is the battlefield. That is the impossible battlefield that Israel, that goes above and beyond what is required by the laws of armed conflict, is fighting for all of us. Israel is fighting impossible wars on the front line against Islamist radicalization for all of us. And we should thank God for Israel and thank God for the members of the IDF who are risking their lives on a daily basis to push back against this spread of radicalization.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We have the same God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That is not the God of Allah. It's a different God, and it's not the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Brooke, thank you so much for joining us. It was refreshing to hear this, and we need to step up, America, because this is at our doorstep, and we need to take action.